There's a saboteur hiding out in your Disney World vacation, messing with all your big plans and making your trip a whole lot harder than you expected it to be. The plot twist, the mole responsible might actually be Disney. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog, and I got some breaking news for you. Disney, yes, Disney, could be the key villain behind all your theme park woes. Now, before you race into the comments and go, AJ, I thought you loved Disney, I want to assure you that this place is still my happy place. I mean, this is the home of the people mover, y'all, and you know how much I love to people move. That being said, it's hard to wear rose-colored glasses while a lot of you, my buddies over there, stress over all the major Disney updates that keep stirring the pot in the Disney World bubble and threatening to dismantle all of the big theme park plans you work so hard to create. So today's video is going to be about A, addressing the inadvertent Disney sabotage, and B, learning how you and Disney can still be friends in the end. Okay, sabotage numero uno. They keep changing things. I know that Disney World is an ever-changing park that works hard to keep up with the times, but good grief, sometimes we just want to pump the brakes when it comes to all these Disney changes coming at us at once, just to have some time to catch our breath for a second. Disney often updates the way we need to plan our Disney World vacations, and while that's not necessarily a bad thing all of the time, it definitely throws a wrench into what we already think we know about the parks and all the time and effort we've already put in, and getting our Aunt Susan to agree to go to some of these restaurants, all of that effort. Recently, we received that big lightning lane change on July 24th, which means we can now start planning our lightning lanes ahead of our trips instead of having to book every single lightning lane one by one on the day of. And while we knew Disney had been thinking about making these changes at some point during 2024, they gave us the official multi-pass green light at the end of June, only 1 month before the service went live. So a little more heads up would have been real nice. Fortunately, we were able to run a crash course with this new service after it went live, so now we've got a nice collection of multi-pass and single-pass lightning lane tips and tricks up our sleeve that we're sharing with you. You can learn more about this updated service and our best recommendations to go along with it so far in our free lightning lane guide. So if you want one to have and to hold, just scan the QR code you see on the screen right now or head to disneyfoodblog.com/multipass after this. Now, along with lightning lanes, Disney also constantly switches up the show times for their nighttime spectaculars and parades throughout the week, so you have to remember to check the My Disney Experience app at the start of each park day so you'll know exactly when those shows are set to happen during your visit. Sometimes it's once, sometimes it's twice, sometimes it's not at all. Disney keeps busy with all their reimaginings and park additions too, but with that reimagining comes a lot of confusion, because when this construction is happening, suddenly you've got to navigate around construction areas and deal with extended closures and figure out those virtual queues. More on that in a minute. And maybe even have your heart broken if one of your former favorite attractions gets replaced by something else. Believe me, I've been there so many times. So it's always best to check the Disney website so you can see these closures and changes firsthand. Take the Jungle Cruise, for example. If you search for Jungle Cruise on the Disney World website right now, you'll notice there's that little orange text notice toward the top of the page. It's warning you that beginning August 26th, 2024, Jungle Cruise will temporarily close for refurbishment. However, Disney also assures that the attraction is scheduled to reopen for guests before the winter holidays begin at Disney World, which, if you read between the lines, means that Jingle Cruise is going to be happening, but maybe not till October, November, whatever. Speaking of heartbreak, Disney's menu switch-ups can also get us all choked up when we see our classic favorite snacks leave us, only to be potentially replaced by different snacks or just disappear entirely like a thief into the night. You can fill in the blanks here with whatever defunct Disney snack you might be currently mourning at the moment. I feel your pain again. Truly, I do. Now, it's also difficult when Disney swaps out ingredients for their popular dishes. I know I'm getting a little niche here, but it can cause consternation regarding the whole if it ain't broke, don't fix it notion. Now, to be fair, usually ingredient switches happen because of supply shortages or cheaper supply costs, or just because Disney's experimenting with a seasonal change that'll bring things back to normal after the holidays wrap up. Like we see happen to the carrot cake whoopie pie in Hollywood Studios in each Christmas season when it's swapped out for the red velvet whoopie pie instead. Now, while Disney World tends to make these changes to help improve guest experience rather than hinder it, it can be hard to keep up with every single update or announcement when Disney makes a whole lot of them in such a short amount of time. That's why the DFB team and I do what we do every day. Because we've been there, we've had our trips completely sabotaged when Disney decides to change things last minute that we had made meticulous plans around for months and months and months in advance. So now we're here to make sure that no matter when you're planning on heading out to the parks, you're prepared for what's in store when you arrive. But aside from you keeping up with our newsletter and latest news videos, when it comes to Disney changes, make sure that all your Disney itinerary plans are as flexible as possible. Well, yes, it sure is nice to see all your vacation plans laid out nice and neat and organized in that spreadsheet, all color-coded, those perfect vacation plans of yours. Sometimes they might have to change. Not might. They will, because there'll always be at least something that pops up during your visit that forces you to shift things around in your carefully crafted game plan. So leave some room for some spontaneity, even if you need to do what I used to do in high school when I would literally pencil into my hour-by-hour schedule spontaneous time. Yes, my parents made endless fun of me for it. I didn't quite realize how bizarre that was for a teenager to do, but alas, it's who I am. We gotta just own up to that. But regardless, you're gonna need to brace yourself for the possibility that your plans might have to switch up at the very last second. Okay, number 2, virtual queues set new guests up for failure. Whew, boy, didn't mean for the title of this point to get so spicy, but I don't think the bulk of you are going to necessarily disagree. Yep, virtual queues can be a great way to prevent having to wait in a standby line for hours on end just to ride one new Disney attraction. I get it. I'm completely on board. And yes, it's nice that Disney does have 2 different virtual queue drop times, one at 7 a.m., one at 1 p.m., just in case you missed the first. However, because virtual queues continue to book up so quickly, you could completely miss your window of opportunity and not be able to ride the new attractions you were so looking forward to seeing. Bria's got a little story for ya.
Hey everyone, Bria here. I wanted to pop on real quick to tell you about my past January visit to Epcot. I went with a few of my gal pals and my little brother and my husband, and we were really excited until the morning of, and that's when the virtual queue fiasco struck. Now, I go to the parks often. It's part of my job. You guys know that. So I knew that I needed to wake up before 7 a.m. to confirm my party ahead of time on the My Disney Experience app. On my account, I had my husband, me, and my brother. We were on completely separate My Disney Experience accounts from my friends, which was probably our first mistake, but regardless, that's how it looked. I also knew that I needed to join the Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind queue right when the clock struck 7. Not a minute after, not a second after, right when it struck 7. And you know what? We got in. And all was right with the world. But my 2 friends, who were in separate hotel rooms, messaged me only a few minutes after and informed me that they did not get into that virtual queue, even though they attempted to join only seconds after the clock switched over to 7. Oh my goodness, I cannot believe I did not make that more clear that they couldn't wait. Like, they had to be on right at 7 in order to get that virtual queue. I was so plagued with guilt because I made that assumption that they knew that, and I shouldn't have made that assumption because that was mean of me. I took on this burden. I was like, oh my goodness, this is my fault that they didn't get that boarding group number in time. Fortunately, we got their party confirmed on the My Disney Experience app, and my friends were still able to join the 1 p.m. virtual queue, so everything was okay in the end. But leading up to 1 p.m., I was just crossing my fingers and hoping that they weren't gonna miss their final chance to get in line, because I don't know how I would have lived with myself if that were the case.
Yep, and that's really stressful because it almost feels like a punishment when guests are told, sorry, queue's all filled up, even though you think you're doing everything right. With that being said, let me hit you with some virtual queue pointers to ease my aching conscience, because I so don't want any of y'all on the same boat when I could have at least tried to prevent it. Okay, 1, confirm your party before 7 a.m. This can be the biggest game changer for whether you get into a virtual queue or not. Beginning at 6 a.m., you can tap into the virtual queue and set your party so that you'll have fewer steps to worry about when you're trying to join at either 7 a.m. or 1 p.m. If you don't do that pre-party selection, you'll have to do it right when the virtual queue goes live, which could absolutely be the difference between getting that queue or not. Tip number 2, check your Wi-Fi connection beforehand. If you're on Disney property, you may be tempted to leave your phone connected to Disney Wi-Fi, but Disney Wi-Fi is notoriously spotty, especially when everybody else is trying to get the same virtual queue, and it could cost you a spot in that queue. So if you don't think the Disney Wi-Fi is going to be doing you any favors, turn off Wi-Fi on your phone before the boarding group distribution time and rely on your phone's connectivity instead. And 3, try plan B or C or D. For Tron, Light Cycle Run, and Cosmic Rewind, you can always purchase a single pass lightning lane before your trip so you don't have to worry about the virtual queue at all. And for Tiana's Bayou Adventure, you can pre-select a lightning lane for it if you purchase multi-pass lightning lanes for your Magic Kingdom day. Multi and single passes can be pre-selected a week before your trip begins if you're staying at a Disney hotel, or 3 days before your trip if you're staying off property. You might also be eligible for a third virtual queue drop right at 6 p.m. if you'll be staying in a Disney Deluxe Resort when Magic Kingdom and Epcot's extended evening hours are available. Extended evening hours, those are those Deluxe Resort perks that allow Deluxe Resort guests to stay in select parks on certain evenings 2 hours after the parks close to everybody else, meaning you got one last chance to snag a virtual queue that day. And if you're going to a holiday party like Mickey's Not So Scary Halloween Party in Magic Kingdom or an after-hours event, the virtual queues for these rides tend to go away completely and become standby queues, since the events are already capped off at a limited number of guests. Okay, number 3, they force you to wake up way too early. Excusez-moi, Disney expects me to wake up before 7 a.m. during my vacation? Yeah, about that. Many times in Disney, the early bird gets the worm, and even if you've never identified as an early bird in your life, like me, you might feel obligated to start pretending you are one on your Disney vacation. Not only do you need to get up and around if you want to secure your spot in those 7 a.m. virtual queues on the day of your park visit, but even on the days when you're visiting parks that don't have any virtual queues at all, you might still be compelled to get up and take advantage of your early theme park entry benefit. Early theme park entry is available for all Disney hotel guests, including select partnering Good Neighbor hotel guests, and allows you to enter any of the parks on any days 30 minutes before everybody else. This head start could help you get in line for one of the more popular Disney rides that rack up really hearty waits later on in the day, and that's great. But that's going to be a mighty early wake-up call, especially when it comes to Animal Kingdom, which usually has the earliest rope drop time around 8 a.m. That means early entry here could start at 7:30, and that's not even factoring in the time that it'll take you to wake up, get dressed, and get in the bus line and travel over there in the first place. When you consider that most of the Disney parks typically stay open until 9 to 10 p.m., aside from Animal Kingdom, which closes around 7 or 8, and then you have to travel back to your hotel room at the end of the night before getting ready for bed, there's a good possibility your head may not hit the pillow until midnight or later. So if you have to set your alarm for 6 a.m. right after a full park day that doesn't get you to bed until midnight, then your group is not going to have a full night's sleep, and things are going to unravel real quick. So what can you do to stay well rested, even when Disney's trying to keep you awake? First of all, you do not have to partake in early entry if you don't want to. Yes, it can be nice to get a 30-minute head start tacked onto your day, but it's not always necessary if you're visiting during a slower or even average crowd level season. So you can pick and choose which days you really want to take advantage of this benefit and catch a few extra Z's on the other days. I'd say early entry probably comes in most handy over at Hollywood Studios because there are a lot of heavy hitter rides there that you're going to want to jump in line for before the crowds start getting too thick. Magic Kingdom can be nice to have early entry for too, especially if you're already awake for the 7 a.m. virtual queue drops, but keep in mind that the only sections of Magic Kingdom that are open during early entry are Tomorrowland and Fantasyland. Again, if you're already up and around to grab virtual queues for Cosmic Rewind and Epcot, then sure, you can take advantage of early theme park entry there, but many of the ride lines really don't get too terribly long during the day, except for Frozen Ever After, Remy's Ratatouille Adventure, and sometimes, Test Track and Soarin', so you might be a-okay to go without it. As far as Animal Kingdom's concerned, people usually use that early theme park entry to get in line for Flight of Passage right from the get-go. However, if you've purchased a single pass lightning lane for this one ahead of your trip, or you're okay with maybe waiting to get in line for it towards the end of the day when crowds will potentially die down a little bit, then you should still be able to accomplish what you really want to do in Animal Kingdom without the 30-minute head start. Other tips to keep you rested. It's also important to take breaks. I'm not just talking about breaks in the middle of your park day, though those are crucial for sure, but also breaks in the middle of your trip, especially if you're going to be in Disney for longer than a weekend getaway. Having a scheduled time where you can sleep in and not have to hit up a park all day long will give your group the chance to rest up and recharge so that you can receive a second wind for the latter half of your vacation. Other than that, just be mindful of how you plan out each day of your trip. If you know you're going to be out late one evening watching one of the park's fireworks performances or something, then you'll probably want to plan on sleeping in for a little bit the following day. And if you're going to be waking up with the sun to take advantage of early theme park entry, then you may want to consider wrapping up your park day a little bit earlier, especially if you've got younger kids or older folks in your group, to give your family plenty of time to relax, take baths, catch up on the Z's before doing this all over again tomorrow. Next way Disney is sabotaging your vacation, they are draining your bank account. Here's the truth of the matter, folks. It can easily cost less to go on a fancy cruise, book a stay at an all-inclusive resort, or even take a vacation to Europe nowadays than it costs to go on a Disney World vacation. Let's look at the numbers of just the skeleton of a Disney World trip real quick. Hypothetically speaking, let's say I'm looking to book a 4-day Disney World vacation for a family of 4, 2 adults, 2 kids, between October 9th to the 13th. That's my mom's birthday. If I want to stay at the cheapest Disney value hotel, a standard room at All-Star Sports, a vacation package that bundles a resort stay, and the standard 1 park per day tickets for a family of 4 with no discount is going to cost about $3,365. When you combine that price tag with your flights, your meals, and any other additional merchandise purchases or add-ons, you could easily be paying around $8,000 to $9,000 plus when all is said and done. That can get real frustrating real fast, especially if your kids are begging you to go to Disney. Please, oh please, oh please. So how can you keep from feeling like the high prices of Disney are insurmountable? First, pace out your payments. If you're purchasing a vacation package with your hotel room and tickets combined, then Disney does offer flexible payment plans so you don't have to drop thousands in one go. Disney World requires a $200 deposit when you book a vacation package, but after that, you can pay off the remaining amount at your own speed, just as long as the full amount is paid off 30 days before your trip. This does mean that if you book a vacation package for a trip that's less than a month away, you will have to pay the entire amount at checkout. So the earlier you can book your vacation package, the more time you'll have to pay it off. It's kind of like a layaway plan at the Kmart. You make a deposit, and Disney World agrees to hold that room and park tickets for those days for you as long as you pay it off by the deadline. That gives you the freedom to design a payment plan that you can feel comfortable with, like choosing to pay a certain amount every month, or maybe even dropping a little in the bucket each time you get paid. Whatever works best for you. Second, don't bite off more than you can chew. Even with a payment plan in tow, Disney's quadruple-digit price point can still be quite the sticker shock. So don't feel like you need to take this giant and extensive Disney World trip if it's going to put you in a financial bind. What you can always do instead, if you've got the option to do so, is take a shortened trip, maybe even a weekend getaway to Magic Kingdom, and just experience a park or two for now. Then you can plan on doing the other parks a few years down the road when you've got more time to save up. This way you can still get that Disney experience, but you don't have to stress over taking out a loan to make it happen. Which, believe it or not, a lot of people do. Third, find ways to save during your trip. Disney will find a lot of ways to coerce you into spending more money than you already have spent during the course of your trip. Believe me, they trick you into spending a lot of cash. But there are ways for you to push back and keep your hard-earned money safe and sound and nestled firmly in your bank account. For instance, you can skip the park hopper cost and just stick with the basic 1 park ticket price. You can pack your own snacks from home or pick up snacks at a nearby grocery store outside the Disney bubble. Kroger Delivery will even deliver groceries to you right at your hotel. You can purchase Disney souvenirs online instead of on property, since you might be able to find the same stuff or similar stuff for much cheaper on the Disney Store website, Amazon, and Target. Especially if you're a Red Card member, you get 5% off your purchases each time you shop there. You can search for hotel and park ticket discounts, since Disney does offer them throughout the year on their website via the special offers, deals, and discounts page. Join our newsletter to get notified of all that stuff. By the way, our newsletter's free. Don't worry. It's not going to take anything away from your bank account. And check the Disney World park ticket calendar online to see when the cheapest times to visit the parks actually are, since prices do fluctuate based on demand. Now, another way that Disney is going to sabotage your vacation: more planning, less relaxing. This is an argument that people have brought up against Disney World for years now. You can't just go to Disney World and have a good time anymore without loads of extra planning. And you know what? That argument is valid. Disney World is not like going to Six Flags, where you can show up the day of, buy your tickets, ride rides, eat snacks. There's a whole lot of extra planning that goes along with the entire Disney World package. Like, what resort are you going to stay in? What dining reservations do you need to be making 60 days out? What extras do you need to save for? How can you juggle all the other concerns we've already addressed throughout the course of today's video? It's a lot, but you don't have to let all the pre-planning paralyze you. If doing a lot of planning just isn't your forte, and you're more of a go-with-the-flow personality type, what's that like? I would love that. Here's how you can still pull off a solid Disney vacation. Check for last-minute dining reservations. While you probably don't want to gamble on not making reservations for the restaurants you 100% want to prioritize, Disney often has last-minute dining resis available on the My Disney Experience app that you can snag on the day of your park visit. I would recommend looking at your list of last-minute options toward the beginning of the day, since restaurants will completely book up the closer you get to those peak lunch and dinner times. You can break up the workload. You don't have to be the sole planner of your trip if you're traveling with a group of folks. Delegate your vacation planning among the folks in your group so one person doesn't have to shoulder all the responsibility alone. I know a lot of you are saying, yeah, right, AJ. I get it. I'm the same. I'm definitely the sole planner in my family. But if you happen to be going with other adults or a group of families or something like that, then you can put this into effect. This could mean one person's in charge of finding discounted hotel rooms, one person's in charge of locking in lightning lanes, one person's in charge of figuring out how the timeline of the trip is going to work out. Whatever works best for you. Just play to everyone's planning strengths and make sure to discuss your decisions with your entire group before locking anything in. And you can always recruit a travel agent. If no one in your group really wants to take on the responsibility of planning an entire Disney World trip, that doesn't mean you have to forfeit the trip altogether. Instead, reach out to a reliable travel agent. We always use our friends over at Small World Vacations, as you know, and they can take the reins for you. Folks at Small World know all the ins and outs of planning a Disney vacation. They even have everything down when it comes to lightning lanes and all of that, and can put together a trip that fits your group's personal preferences. And the best part, they'll do it for you for free. If you're interested in a quote from Small World, you can see the link to get that down in our description. Now, one last crucial note before we wrap up today that I think will sum up everything we've talked about quite nicely. Disney isn't purposefully trying to sneak into your theme park itinerary and mess up all your carefully crafted plans. Remember, they want you to come back to Disney World. They don't want a one and done. Now, as I mentioned at the start of this video, if you're ever nervous about a change or addition that you hear about online, don't panic and think that everything you invested in regarding your Disney World trip is now all up in smoke. Come to us or your travel agent or even Disney or all the above so you can have your anxieties squared away and start getting excited about your future Disney World plans once more. Speaking of plans, don't forget to pick up your free multi-pass and single pass lightning lane guide to help you learn all about this new service leading up to your big Disney vacation. You can get it over at disneyfoodblog.com/multipass. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.